The next morning, a massive group of riders showed up at Elijah Thorne's isolated farm. Dozens of Cheyenne warriors on their horses, lined up across the horizon like a living wall. Elijah stood there, staring, his heart pounding from what had gone down the day before. He had no idea helping one hurt stranger would lead to this. But there they were, not charging in anger, but waiting with a quiet respect that filled the air. It was the kind of sight that could change a man's whole view on the world. If you are watching this on television, take a second to grab your phone and hit follow, like, or share. That one click means a lot, and it helps us keep telling stories that matter. The day before, Elijah had spotted a line of red spots leading right to his water source. He had dealt with plenty of injured creatures over his 35 years, scratching out a living on this harsh land. He could tell right away this was no animal mark. When he traced those drops past his storage shed, what he saw made him stop dead, his grip tight on his shotgun. A young Cheyenne fighter was slumped against the rock edge of the pump, one palm clamped over a deep cut in his ribs, the other stretching feebly toward the metal pail dangling just a few feet up. The guy's breaths came out quick and ragged. His brown eyes, dimmed by hurt, followed Elijah's steps with the sharpness of someone ready for the end to hit from anywhere. This was 1847, a time when spotting a native on your land spelled one word: danger, the sort that could leave a person stripped in the night or torched inside their own place. Every settler for miles around would advise Elijah the same way: end the threat quick and hide the remains where no soul would dig them up. Elijah lifted his shotgun, his finger close to the release. The wise move, the secure one, what everyone would do. But those eyes held him back. It was not only suffering in there, it was the raw need for liquid he had known during that dry spell in '44, when he lasted 3 full days without a drop and figured death was coming. The basic urge that went beyond hide tone, speech, or which group you belonged to in the fights. The Cheyenne tried to say something, his mouth split and leaking, but just a faint sound escaped. Liquid. Elijah set down his weapon and grabbed the pail. His locals would label him reckless. His kin out east would claim the empty wilds had broken his sense. Maybe they had a point, but as he bent next to this unknown hurt person and held the edge to his mouth, seeing him swallow like someone pulled from a flood, Elijah sensed one fact clear: he was set to alter both their paths for good. What Elijah missed was that this damaged fighter was no regular member of the nearby groups, and the events ahead would draw more horsemen to his farm than he had witnessed in all his days. The Cheyenne took in the fluid like he had gone without for ages, emptying 3 whole containers before his shaking arms could steady the side. Elijah observed each swallow, his thoughts spinning on what this act meant. Out here, offering kindness to a native was like inviting your own end. But as some hue came back to the fighter's features, Elijah picked up on a detail that chilled him deep. The injury in the man's torso was no beast, strike, or chase mishap. It was a lead entry, new, still flowing, and from the path and the dark marks near it. Someone had fired at him from near, very near, which suggested the shooter could be hunting him still, might be following those same red marks right to Elijah's spot, might be heading this way now with arms ready and demands Elijah had no replies for. The Cheyenne appeared to pick up on his worry. With hard work, he lifted an arm and aimed at the distance, then drew a line across his neck. His warning was plain. Threat approached fast. Elijah's pulse raced hard. Every gut feeling yelled to pull this damaged unknown off his ground. Cover the signs. Act like nothing occurred. But the guy could hardly rise, much less move far. Shifting him would likely finish him, and abandoning him was like painting a mark on them both. That is when Elijah caught the noise. The rumble that had saved him through 10 years in this rough area. Horse steps far off, several mounts pushing strong and swift, aimed right at his farm. The Cheyenne noticed them as well. His gaze widened with real alarm, and he attempted to shrink against the pump, as if getting tiny could hide him. Red fluid started seeping past his digits where he held the spot. Elijah snatched the empty container and washed away the marks as fast as possible, but time was short. The horseman would arrive soon, perhaps quicker. He glanced at the damaged fighter. This outsider who had dropped into his world and flipped it in one short span, a person whose stay could end them both, but whose gaze showed something Elijah had not spotted in a native prior. Thanks. Real human thanks. The horse steps grew nearer, near enough to number them. 4 mounts, perhaps 5, all at full speed that hinted they were not here for talk. Elijah decided in that quick moment, aware it could be his final one. He could not lift the hurt man, but he could conceal him. The aged storage pit past the shed, if they reached it. But as he leaned to aid the Cheyenne up, the fighter seized his arm with odd force and moved his head no. Then he did a thing that raised Elijah's hairs. He grinned, not the thankful grin of a rescued soul, but the aware grin of one who knew precisely who approached that rise. The horsemen topped the hill like a dark wave carrying fire. 5 men on mounts, dirt rising behind, long guns shining under the late light. Elijah knew the front man at once, Sheriff Harlan Voss, a figure whose fame for harm reached every spot from here to the next big town. Voss was the type of enforcer who pulled first and questioned after, especially with native issues. The type who gathered hides as prizes and named it right. The type who would raise a farm and all inside if he thought they sheltered runaways. Elijah positioned himself before the pump, his frame blocking the Cheyenne, aiming to seem like a guy focused on mending a gate piece. His tongue felt like baked earth. Voss pulled his mount short. Close enough Elijah saw the hard judgment in his light eyes. The other 4 spread in a half ring, palms on their tools. This was no casual stop. Afternoon, Thorne, Voss stated, his tone slow like a player with the full hand. We are chasing a hurt native. Red path points direct to your land. Elijah sensed damp on his brow in the mild air. Have not seen any natives, Sheriff. Been fixing the east barrier all day. Voss's sight scanned the farm, catching each bit. The man overlooked 0. It stayed on the wet spots by the pump, and Elijah's gut sank. That right, Voss got off slow, on purpose, 'cause that appears like red to me. New red. And unless you have been cutting stock by your drink source, I would say a visitor was here late. Behind Elijah, shielded by the rockside, the hurt Cheyenne stayed frozen. But Elijah felt the strain pouring from him like warmth from coals. One noise, one shift, and they were finished. Voss stepped nearer, his palm now clear on his sidearm. You aware what the cost is for hiding native runners, Thorne? It matches the cost for betrayal. A line round the throat till gone. The statement lingered like a final word. Elijah's body tensed like wire, set to battle or flee, knowing neither would work. Voss was too near. Any fast action would show the Cheyenne, and then lead would fly. That is when a wild event took place. The hurt Cheyenne talked, not in common tongue, but his own. A flow of sounds that rang clear and firm past his harm, sounds that halted Sheriff Voss in place, and Hugh left his features like spill from a split holder. Voss's palm dropped from his arm. His lips moved without sound like a caught fish. When he spoke, it was low. Lord above, it is you. The other 4 got off quick, their tools ignored, their looks mixing surprise and near fright, but not the fright toward a foe. The fright when folks grasped they just aired huge. Voss faced Elijah, his skin now white as frost. You got any clue who you aided? Elijah looked at Sheriff Voss's scared expression, his head whirling like stuck gears. In 10 years out here, he had never witnessed the hard enforcer fear a thing. Not bandits, not beasts, not even the Cheyenne raids that leveled 2 spots last season. But now, Voss seemed like he faced a spirit. The hurt Cheyenne spoke once more, this time in clear common, his tone holding power that spread across the farm. Explain who I am, Sheriff. Tell why you pushed so to locate me. Voss's throat moved as he took it in. When he talked, his sound broke like a youth. This is KL, child of Leader Oren from the Upper Cheyenne. He is the one who set the calm agreement with Base Hamilton last fall. Elijah felt the soil move under him. The calm agreement. The one that halted 2 years of hard clashes between newcomers and Cheyenne. The one that spared many on each side. The one that let folks build here without worry of dark attacks. And he had offered drink to the guy who enabled it all. But if Cale was a bridge builder, why flee the law with lead in him? There was a trap, Cale went on, his breath still hard, but his sound gaining with each bit. 2 days passed, a talk with Major Elias Grant on growing the agreement to cover lower areas, but Grant had other aims. Voss's features shifted from light to dull. Major Grant is gone, hit in the rear during a native strike 2 days back. You are sought for his end, 'cause that is what they push you to accept, Cale stated, lifting higher on the pump. Grant was not taken by natives, he was taken by folks in fight colors, using just enough Cheyenne words to trick watchers. Folks who knew exact when and where we met. The meaning struck Elijah hard. Someone staged Grant's end to blame Cale. Someone aiming to wreck the calm agreement. Someone wanting the land to clash again. Who? Voss asked, though his look hinted he guessed. Cale's eyes turned sharp as stone. The same folks trading arms to rebel groups. The same folks gaining wealth from this clash. The same folks who ordered you to track me instead of hunting true takers. Voss stepped away, his palm heading to his tool before halting. You speak of betrayal, of rot in the area rule. Those are heavy claims, and they stay claims till I show them, KL answered. That is why they want me gone before I hit the Cheyenne gathering tomorrow. Why they placed lead in me and left me done. Why they count on types like you to end what they began. Elijah viewed this talk with rising fear. He figured he just helped a hurt outsider. Instead, he fell into a scheme that could split the whole area. But what froze him most was if KL spoke true, then Sheriff Voss came not to catch a runner. He came to do a killing. The quiet grew tight like a pulled string set to break. Voss's 4 men moved uneasy on their seats, palms near arms, gazes jumping between their sheriff and the hurt Cheyenne who blamed much of the area rule for killing and betrayal. Elijah saw the battle in Voss's gaze. The sheriff caught between task and fact, between commands and heart. And types like Voss did not deal with right choices well. They fixed them with lead. Even if your words hold, Voss said slow. I got my commands. You are sought for Grant's end. I must bring you back ended or breathing. Ended would suit better, Cale answered. His tone even passed the ache on his features. Gone folks cannot speak out. Gone folks cannot show who gains from fresh native fights. One of Voss's men, a fresh aide with shaky gaze, bent ahead on his mount. Sheriff, if he tells true on the calm agreement. Quiet, Landon, Voss barked. But Elijah spotted doubt slipping into the sheriff's look like breaks in a hold wall. That is when KL used his last play. Digging into a hide bag at his waist with unsteady digits, he drew a bent sheet marked with red. This is why they aimed to end me. A note from Major Grant. Penned the eve before he went. Voss eyed the note like it could ignite. What does it hold? It holds Grant found who supplies tools to rebel groups. Titles, times, sums. Enough to drop several folks. Cale's gaze stayed on Voss's features, including proof that one in the area sheriff's spot took payments to ignore. The words landed on Voss like a hit. His features passed shades of light before hitting a ill tint. Behind him, his men shared worried looks, now keen on checking their mount gear. Elijah's pulse hit hard. He watched something that could finish them all. The point when a bent enforcer saw his own end near. You lie, Voss said, but his tone missed strength. Do I? KL lifted the note. Grant believed me enough to hand this the night he went, said to get it to base Hamilton if harm came, called it safeguard. Voss moved ahead, his grip now on his sidearm. Hand me that note, so you can wreck it. KL moved his head. No, I doubt that, Sheriff, but I offer a trade. Allow me to last till the Cheyenne gathering tomorrow, and I ensure your title stays out when this breaks. The proposal lingered like haze from a shot. Elijah saw Voss weighing chances, measuring dangers, figuring which path kept him breathing longer. But what followed shocked all. Aide Landon got off and stepped slow to the pump, his arms up calm. Sheriff, I have been pondering a thing. Recall that load of long guns lost 2 months past. The one claim taken by natives. Voss's features grew dark. What of it? I spotted those same long guns 1 week after in the hold of newcomers going lower. Landon's fresh features reddened with bold or alarm. Got me thinking who truly took from who. The reveal opened a gap in the bunch. Sudden, other aides nodded, exchanging views, recalling bits that did not fit then, and Elijah grasped Cale had achieved a wonder. Without a shot or loud word, he flipped Voss's own group against him. Voss was not the type to fall easy, and when trapped, hard folks did hard acts. Voss's hold firmed on his arm handle till his joints paled. A trapped creature was ever the worst, and Elijah spotted the exact point when the sheriff picked lead over fact. You all are blind, Voss growled, his cover of nice gone. You believe this wild one's word over mine. You think any will trust words from a gone native and some turncoats. The aides spread natural, palms to tools, but Elijah saw the unsure in their looks. Years of commands fought the rising grasp that those commands could be off. KL rose to stand, leaning on the pump rock. Red seeped past his digits on the injury, but his tone held firm. Fact does not mind who says it, Sheriff. It just exists. Fact, Voss spat, is you ended a state's force leader, and I will claim the price on you. He pulled his sidearm smooth, the end aiming at KL. But before release, Aide Landon placed himself in the path, his own tool up. Hold back, Sheriff. The command rang like storm across the farm. 3 other aides matched Landon, their arms on their own head. Only one stayed with Voss, a worn old named Slade who seemed as bent as his chief. "You air big, lads," Voss said, though damp now on his brow. "An air that cost your marks, maybe your breaths." "Maybe," Landon answered, "but I did enough airs on your commands. No more." Elijah watched this face-off with growing alarm. 5 armed folks on his ground, all aiming at each other, all sure they held right. This sparked land fights. This took good folks for bad causes. That is when Cale did an odd act. He started a chant, not in common, but Cheyenne, a deep, pulling tune that rose like from the soil. The old sound spread over the farm like breeze in deep cuts, telling of respect and giving, of kin who faced shadow side by side. The impact hit fast and strong. The aides eased their tools a bit, not grasping the sounds, but sensing their force. Even Voss appeared caught short by the noise. And as they heard, held, Cale did another thing full. He was signaling his kin. The chant was a call, a word on the late breeze to those who knew to hear. Elijah got this with a cold that hit his back like chill flow. Cale was not just chanting, he was bringing. The tune closed, and quiet dropped on the farm like thick cover. But in that quiet, Elijah heard a sound that chilled his flow. Horse steps, far but building. Many horse steps pushing quick. Voss heard them too. His features went light as night glow. "How many?" Cale grinned past his ache. "Plenty." The noise built, growing till it rang like storm on flat land. Not 5 horsemen now, not 10. A full Cheyenne fight group headed to Elijah's farm, and they would reach in moments. Voss lifted his sidearm once more, this time at Elijah's core. "You caused this. You aided his call." "I offered a dry soul some fluid," Elijah answered, shocked by his own even tone. "Same as for any hurt being on my soil." The horse steps were near enough to sense in the dirt below, near enough to tally, too many for that. And Voss at last got what Cale planned from start. They topped the distance like a sight from elsewhere. 40 Cheyenne fighters on mounts, shifting in tight order, their fight marks shining in the fading day. But as they neared, Elijah grasped a fact that broke all he knew on native fight groups. They came not for clash. Leading rode an old leader whose air demanded honor from far, his silver strands tied with bird parts, and past his years, he held his mount with the pride of one who never bent. After him came fighters young and old, from hard ones to youths just set to hold arms, but their arms stayed covered. Voss's features ran confusion, alarm, and wild figuring. He kept his sidearm on Elijah, but his arm shook like ill. "This shift's 0. I hold my commands." "Your commands," a fresh voice said. "Hold no more." All turned to aid Landon, showing a formal sheet. This arrived early. "Sheriff, straight from the area head." All chase of KL halted till check on Major Grant's end. Voss's features turned deep hue with fury. "You false scrap of verify your own message hold," Landon cut in. "Unless you been too tied claiming prices to view your rule mail." The Cheyenne horsemen made a broad ring round the farm, not pushing, but clear there. Their leader got off and stepped slow to the pump where his child waited. With each move, the old one's gaze stayed on Cale's features, looking for bad harm signs. When parent and offspring held, a shared breath rose from the gathered fighters. Elijah saw something holy, the meat of a guide with his folk, a dad with his young, a bridge builder with those he vowed to guard. The leader talked to his offspring in fast Cheyenne, his marked palms testing the injury, his features serious with care. Cale replied in same, but Elijah caught enough common mix to get the main, the fact, the scheme, the titles of true takers. When the talk ended, the leader faced Voss with eyes like dark stones. "Sheriff Voss, my offspring says you arrived to end him." Voss's sidearm dipped. "I arrived to catch a runner. A runner from your own rot," the leader answered. "A soul whose sole wrong was finding how you and your ties profit from clashes between our kinds." The blame lingered like cloud from a last fire. Voss's last tie, Slade, was easing his mount from the ring, clear weighing his run odds. "You hold no show," Voss said, but his tone split on the bits. The leader grinned, not kind, but with the win of one with full hold. "We hold Grant's note. We hold words from the true takers who spoke all before going in run from our right, and we hold more." He pointed to a fighter who came ahead with a hide case. From it, the fighter brought a pile of sheets that made Voss's features gray. "Your talks with the arm traders," the leader went on. Each pay, each load, each false you said to hide your path. Grant was deeper than you grasped. Voss's realm fell in that point. Elijah watched a bent man grasp all his plans, all his harm, all his cells had led to zero. The show was too much, the speakers solid, the right coming sure, but trapped beings act wild. Voss aimed his sidearm at the leader, wild beating sense. If I fall, you fall too. What followed moved quicker than mind. Cale placed himself between the arm and his dad past his injury. The sidearm released, and 40 Cheyenne fighters grabbed their arms as one. But the hit went off because Elijah Thorne, a plain farmer who aimed to aid a dry soul, had jumped Sheriff Voss from rear, dropping them both in dirt and chaos. The dirt cleared like end of a show. Voss lay still under Elijah, his sidearm tossed by the fall. Aid Landon and his group fast-tied both Voss and Slade, while the Cheyenne fighters eased their arms slow. But what came after would stick with Elijah forever. The leader stepped slow to where Elijah rested, taking air in the soil. The old one's marked features held no show as he eyed this pale farmer who risked all for an unknown. Then sudden, he set both palms on Elijah's arms and spoke in Cheyenne words that carried ritual, respect, knowing. Cale translated, his tone heavy with feel. He says, you now kin to our folk, that your acts today, giving kind to a foe, putting your breath for fact, picking bold over alarm. These mark a real fighter. Elijah felt a change in his core, like an entry letting fresh glow. All his days, he learned natives were wild, foes, blocks to growth, but gazing into the leader's old eyes, he saw just knowledge, pride, and a respect he never got from his own. The ritual after was nothing Elijah had seen. The Cheyenne fighters got off and made a ring round him. One after one, they neared and touched his palm, not a grip in pale way, but deeper, a know of bond beyond hide or ways. When the final fighter gave his honor, the leader gave Elijah a present that stole his air. A fight stick with bird parts and fine string work, its length smooth from many hands over times. This was my ancestors, the leader said, and his before. It never held by one not born Cheyenne, till now. As the day end dropped over the far hills, coloring the space in warm and deep tones, the Cheyenne set to leave. Cale's injury got right care from the group healer, and though weak still, he would last to see the calm agreement grow and the true schemer's face right. Before rising his mount, Cale held Elijah's palm one more time. You kept more than my breath today, kin. You kept the calm between our kinds. I just offered a needy soul some fluid, Elijah said. At times, Cale grinned. That shifts the realm. One hold of fluid each time. One full day after, as promised, they left. But they gave something dear. Show that in a realm of hate and alarm, basic good could still do wonders. Voss and Slade faced judgment and found at fault for betrayal, rot, and plan to kill. The arm trade was broken, and the calm agreement not just kept but grown to hold all groups in the area. And Elijah Thorne, a plain farmer, who gave kind to an unknown, turned the first pale man in area past to join formal into the Cheyenne fold. 'Cause at times in the hard world of the old frontier, the big fights won not with arms or harm, but with stronger, the bold to view foes as people, and the sense to pick care over alarm. If you are watching this on television, take a second to grab your phone and hit follow, like, or share. That one click means a lot, and it helps us keep telling stories that matter.